What's going on? Let's talk about free expression. What I do a lot of times before I even get to a canvas or something, um, because, free forming ideas, so you kind of start to have a clear kind of definition of your head, how you materialize something out of your head can that's a tool that like any business person can benefit from when you talk about creative thinking and how to kind of transfer what is in your head and make it, physical in some sort, whether creative writing, plenty of workshops like that. Um, so what I do for uh, creative expression or creative free form of thought is I lay out these big pieces of paper canvas, and they're way more fluid. The surface is way more fluid than most cotton canvas. Um, I think, stretched linen, but, linen is really expensive. Why a lot of the top artists use linen. It's a really expensive canvas. But, just kind of going over paper, different types of parchment paper, and just like getting the idea out, not really questioning it, seeing if you find, I do so many of them, you know what I mean? I just knock one after the next one out, and um, occasionally, you'll tap into something. And for anybody to do this, you know what I mean? Because you'd be surprised at not like what comes out like immediately, but eventually beyond the actual creating some amazing work, you can get into this like meditative trance of like interlocking what's in your subconscious. And I think that's a great thing too. Sometimes I pull myself out of actually trying to create anything physically appeasing to the senses and just kind of get into this meditative trance, which is actually more rewarding than actually selling some art. And I think it's always fun if you are going to kind of, whatever the medium is, acrylic, oil. I myself like to mostly work in oil, but sometimes I work in acrylic. Sometimes I mix acrylic and oil and whatever else, oil, pastel, everything, just to, break the rules, but I think it's fun sometimes to play with different amendments to the paint. So sometimes I will add in different amendments that allow you to kind of like have different textures and different transparencies. So you kind of can like layer. And so sometimes when I start out, something, I will start out kind of with a transparency gel amendment for oils, and I might not add black right away, but I'll add like a brown or something and try to just get and I think it's just fun to kind of understand shape, forming kind of like what the basis of the anatomy of anything is. Kind of, there's a geometry, right, to everything. Um, Finding that and understanding that, and just having a free flow. You know what I mean? Of kind of not thinking what you're doing, but just going with it, and be surprised sometimes at what will come out if you're not really thinking about it too much. And, I'll go over a piece over and over and over again, because you never know. I mean, that's part of it. It's like going over your work is kind of allowing you to not hold anything sacred. You know what I mean? There shouldn't be. You should be able to do something on piece of paper, whatever, and just constantly not being timid, not being scared to go over something, that you're not going to mess anything up, that your point is not to create some masterpiece. You never know what you might create if you just don't limit yourself to having like this intimidating feeling of having to, the pressure of I must create some masterpiece. Who cares about creating a masterpiece? Most of the work that I've ever sold never came out of trying to create something that I would sell. I literally came out of a place of just free form expression. Most of the pieces that I've made the most money on, I created the quickest. They weren't actually pieces that took me a whole lot of time to do. It just was kind of the momentum of what I was, doing. Sometimes one of my favorite artists, as far as creating form out of chaos, out of the intensity of emotion, is Kevin Bacon. If you're not familiar with the British artist, he's no longer with us, but just an amazing artist as far as the intensity of his work. Just kind of watching him paint or create the basis of something is it gives you an idea really of what creation is about. And Picasso too. Picasso was one of my favorite artists to watch actually paint, especially in his later years, because he was just free forming expression. All right. I'm going to drop another video on this, but I just wanted to talk about, kind of tapping into deep, and there's a lot of people who do like psychedelic treatment on tapping deep into the subconscious. And I think, even when I was in prison, I taught art therapy to guys. I would teach an art class. I would teach a creative writing class in prison. You'd be surprised at the population of people who just never have the outlet to be able to tap into something that might kind of burden them, might kind of restrict them from being able to. Because art, what is art? Art is communication, music, fashion, visual art. It's all how we communicate. When you dress up, you are communicating with the world how you feel about yourself, how you want to be seen. When you look at a painting, one artist is communicating to you through your own language understanding. It's like, understanding hieroglyphics or anything you might need an interpreter for, or interpreting it for how you think about the thing. And music is one of the most abstract forms of how do you feel emotionally about that. You can't necessarily tell somebody, this is the feeling you should feel when you listen to this music. So teaching people how to tap into their emotions through art and the therapeutic value of being able to like unlock something. I think this process right here can be very beneficial, because it allows you to like uh, the therapeutic form of like kind of like Tony Soprano said, like being able to relieve yourself, like you're going to the bathroom and be able to like get it out. It's like you are, I don't know, the emotional trauma, throwing it up onto the paper, or taking, a giant dump onto the paper, and who knows what is in there. So, um, more videos on this subject I'm very interested in. Let me know what you think about kind of, art therapy and just kind of free form expression and what that can be. Because, you never know what you tap into when you just kind of relieve yourself of the burdening pressure of having to create something amazing.